What if I were to tell you that one of the most spiritually powerful practices available to you doesn't require an investment, doesn't require you to go to a retreat or find a guru or get certified in some other modality or technique or even take a flight across the world, although that might be somewhat fun to go to Bali or to go to India. But what if I were to tell you that the one thing that your body has been begging for, is not another productivity hack, not another thing to do on your to-do list, not another supplement or anything like that. And you may be disrespecting this practice more often than what you realize. And I'm talking about sleep. Last week, we talked about having the importance of the morning time and having a morning ritual. And today I want to dive into sleep. I know it sounds too simple, right? Sleep. Well, everybody does it. What's the big deal? We live in a culture where if something is for free and natural and, available at any time of day, we assume it cannot be that profound. We assume that it's not going to work. We just assume that. We want to complicate everything. I think that's just the way that human beings are. We want to biohack everything. We want an app, a subscription. We want the blue light glasses, which I do want to show you these glasses, these really cool glasses that I got. I digress for just a moment, but these are, I think, from Barner. I got them as a gift and they're really cool. Actually, I've been wearing them. I've got this little necklace thing on it, but they're really kind of cool. I have been using them. I do want to say that it has definitely helped, especially in the evening hours of wearing that. If any work that I'm doing, a few hours before I sleep, it does really make a difference of not being affected by the blue light. But anyway, let's get back to talking about sleep. It's one of those things that our body craves and is asking for, but we don't always listen to. So I'm Dr. Asha. If you're new here, welcome. And if you're returning, thank you for coming back to Real Talk. We're going to talk about sleep today. It's not another boring health chore. It's just something that we need to pay more attention to. Sleep is really one of the best medicines next to laughter. I can't decide which one I like more, but I think sleep really is the time that we restore ourselves. And the reason why I say it's a spiritual practice is it's when our body gets to restore itself, it gets to repair. Our brain cleans house, cleans with all our thoughts and all the things that are produced, all the chemicals that are produced. Your emotions get filed and put in the right, filing cabinet, the right chapter or whatever it is. And your soul gets to come back to itself. So you get into this really deep restorative mode. And I don't think most of us have a sleep problem per se. This is one of the biggest things, by the way, in my coaching business as well as in my practice, that I hear more and more people that just can't sleep. But I think it's because we're not prioritizing that. There's several reasons for sleep issues. And, the things that we do know about sleep is we know that we feel a lot better when we sleep. I mean, we're less irritated, less aggravated. We're kinder after a good night's rest. We make better decisions. We have more energy. We're not picking arguments with our loved ones. The problem is not knowledge per se. It's the relationship that we have with rest. Somewhere along the way, a lot of us started treating sleep like an option or like a weakness. I hear so many times from patients and clients alike, I'll have time to sleep whenever I'm dead. I have heard that phrase, that saying so many times. And I'm thinking, it's just an interesting statement when somebody says that, but it's like we have something to earn or like something that we can steal from without consequences. And it's really not the case. And for years, I did this as well. Okay. I think each and every one of us deal with not prioritizing sleep or even well-being and not figuring out what the root cause is, trying to figure out how we just push through. I did this as well. I would push through. I would tell myself, just one more thing, one more email, one more episode, one more, report that I need to write, one more idea, whatever it was. And that one more ended up getting myself to bed later and later and later. And I would convince myself that being productive was, somehow more important. And that is what a lot of us deal with, is that we don't realize that we need to surrender to what our body is telling us. Sleep requires you to stop managing everything. It actually requires you to not control anything. You can't control the room, the inbox, the people, the future, the decisions, the bank account, whatever it is. It's about, and also fall deeply asleep. You can't do those two things at the same time. At the same point, you have to say, I have done what I can for today. Tomorrow's a new day. The rest belongs to the universe, and I need to sleep right now. The rest is about taking care of your nervous system, really relaxing yourself. And this is the hardest part of surrendering to it. I mean, you see little kids that really are just like, they don't want to go to sleep. They don't want to miss anything. They're so fearful that they're going to miss out if they go to bed at 8:30 instead of, staying up with the adults. And we get this way, we stay this way sometimes in our adulthood. So what happens when, what happens when we sleep? And why does our modern day life keep pulling us away from it? What are some of the traditions that we, that have been understood about this nighttime journey that we take into our dream world? And how can we create a sleep ritual that really feels, catered to ourselves? Not perfect, but just something that we can really embrace as we get real life sleep. Okay, so let's begin with the biology about what happens when we sleep. When you understand this, sometimes I think it really helps because there's so many things that our body does. It's amazing because we don't have to think about a lot of it. Sleep is not your body shutting down, okay? It's your body going to work, actually. When you fall asleep, your brain moves through cycles. You go through lighter sleep, deeper sleep, slow wave sleep, the REM cycle, which is the dream heavy stage. The brain becomes incredibly active at this time, and we need all of these stages. Most people move through about four to six of these cycles across the night, and each cycle lasts about 90 minutes. So just do the math with that, and you can figure out really how much sleep we really do need. Now, I want you to imagine your body like a wise, very underpaid overnight cleaning crew that's coming in. During the day, you're out there living, you're doing things, thinking, reacting, eating, driving, talking, worrying, making decisions, watching videos, solving problems, whatever it is, getting annoyed, irritated, getting arguments, pretending that you're not annoyed, holding your face together in meetings, being a person. You're just out there doing it. But nighttime is where there's a lot of cleanup that needs to happen. And so during your deep sleep, your body starts doing the kind of repair that you cannot fake with caffeine, which I know a lot of people try to do. This is when human growth hormone is released. Okay. And this matters because this is about repairing the tissues on a cellular level, the recovery of your immune system, muscle recovery, and just general kind of physical restoration. Your cardiovascular system finally gets to relax. Your blood pressure drops. Your heart doesn't have to work so hard. Inflammation can decrease. Repair process begins. I mean, there's so many things. And this is the one reason why poor sleep catches up with you physically. Even if you're sleeping for 8 hours, I've had this comment from patients before, especially saying, well, I sleep 7 or 8 hours. I sleep okay. But I'm like, do you feel well rested when you wake up? No. Okay, that means that the quality of sleep, you may be getting the hours, but the quality of sleep is not ideal. And we need to think about this because it's not just that you look tired. It's that your body hasn't had enough time to restore its systems. And these systems keep you resilient. And then there's your brain. That part is really wild because during sleep, especially deep sleep, okay, the brain uses a cleaning system, called the glymphatic system. And think of it like the rinse cycle of your brain. Fluid moves through and helps clear out the metabolic waste that you've been building up throughout the day. So when people say, I'll sleep when I'm dead, I always think lovingly, okay, please do not make that appointment sooner than later because your brain needs sleep to clean itself. It's not dramatic. It's about our physiology. And then we have the REM sleep, okay? The REM sleep is where dreams often happen. But it's not just a random mental movie that's happening. REM is deeply involved in memory processing, emotional regulation, creativity, pattern recognition. So this is why you can go to sleep confused and wake up with clarity. When you go through these cycles, you'll start to notice. If you are somebody right now that's listening to this and watching this, that's having trouble sleeping, I mean, some of these things you may not be able to relate to because you're not getting into all these cycles, these different cycles of sleep. This is why, a problem can feel impossible at midnight, but by the time that you rest and get sleep, it's very manageable. The old saying, sleep on it. If you're having a disagreement or something, sleep on it. There is some wisdom in that for sure. There are conversations you should not have at 11:50 at night when your nervous system is just fried from the day. There are life decisions that you should not make while sleep deprived or emotionally flooded. There are texts that you should just draft and leave in the draft box and send in the morning whenever you're well rested. Some of you know exactly what I'm talking about. We're all guilty of this. Sleep gives your brain a chance to take that emotional heat out of the experience and organize it on what the facts are. And that's where I want to pause and make this practical for you. A tired brain is not a neutral brain, okay? So a tired brain is more reactive, more suspicious, more agitated, more impulsive. It craves sugar, it craves drama, it craves control. So when you are underslept, you may think my life is falling apart. But sometimes the first question is much simpler. When did I get proper rest? Because sometimes it's not your entire life. Sometimes it's just your nervous system that's firing out saying, hey, we have a problem here. We need to deal with this. Now, let's move beyond the biology for a moment into a deeper level, because sleep is not just physical. Almost every spiritual tradition has treated sleep as sacred in some way. And I think that it's because sleep asks something very spiritual of us, actually. It asks us to let go. Every night, you release your identity. You stop performing, you stop doing. You're not the doctor, you're not the nurse, you're not the coach, the founder, the creator, the mother, the father. You're not the fixer. You just lie down, you close your eyes, the ego softens, and the body takes over. In a few hours, you're carried into something that you do not consciously control. And that's pretty profound. There's so many different traditions around the world. In the Upanishadic tradition, deep, dreamless sleep is described as a state when the individual self returns to something larger, where the separation we feel in our waking hours disappears. It quietens down. In many indigenous traditions, also, dreams are not dismissed as nonsense. They're treated as messages, guidance, even communication from ancestors or the spirit world. Now, if you're not a very spiritual person, it's okay. I just want to touch on this because I get so many questions about this from my patients and clients and from people asking about this. And, modern psychology, especially through the young, dreams are understood as a doorway into our unconscious. So it's parts of us that are always speaking, even when we don't listen. And I find this so moving because we often say, oh, I had a weird dream, and then we brush it off. I keep a dream journal. I have kept a dream journal for most of my life, actually. And sometimes I get insights from it. Sometimes I get messages from it. Sometimes a lot of times I get clarity. Sometimes the dream is honest. Sometimes it's showing how grief is coming up, how you're trying to outrun grief or upset. It shows you the desire, your true desires of what you're wanting to do. I do feel like some dreams can just be a fluke. It can be something that maybe you watched on television or you read the day before. It's okay. You don't need to analyze everything. But please do not wake up and reorganize your life because you dreamed about your high school sweetheart and you need to contact them or anything like that. It's nothing like that. But some dreams in the brain are just taking out the trash, and some are there to stay with you, and you know which ones I'm talking about if you have had an active dream life. And some dreams have weight to them. It's really interesting. It's like having a deep camera that's inside your brain that's like monitoring everything. When you're analyzing your dreams, this might be something that can help you. It's like, just write, what did I feel? What image stayed with me? What is my soul trying to tell me? Is there anything in there? And that's enough. You don't have to make it very complicated. Have you ever had an idea? This is something I do before I go to sleep sometimes. You have an idea and a thought and you think, this is good, I'll remember it. And then by the morning, it's vanished. It's just vanished. Write things down. Get into the habit of writing things down, because sometimes that thought or that idea or whatever may interrupt your sleep. And it also may be just this brilliant idea that you had at that time. When your mind is getting into that that sleepy state. We talked about this a little bit last week. Your mind is softer there. The creativity opens up. Your intuition speaks there, just like whenever right after you wake up. And that's why how you fall asleep really matters. The last thing that you feed your mind before you sleep becomes a part of the atmosphere that your consciousness is in. So if the last thing that you scrolled on your phone was over conflict or gossip or whatever it may be, that's what you're going to take. And then you wonder why you can't sleep. It's really very important. Ask yourself what you're carrying over into the crossing hours, going from the waking world to the sleeping world. You know, one of the biggest things that I've experienced this as well is, why are we so tired? And I get this question a lot from people, and sleep is important. So why are so many people just exhausted? Because let's be honest, there's this whole economy built upon keeping you awake, anxious, scrolling, comparing, reacting, consuming, and so on and so on. And your attention is profitable. Your peace is not. A well-rested person is harder to manipulate. A grounded person is less likely to panic, buy, or, doom scroll or make urgent, everything in urgency. And I feel like people brag about sleeping for hours, like it's a badge that you should get instead of sleeping for 8 hours. I'll rest when the work's done. Friend, the work is never done. It really, really is never done. There will always be another email. There will always be another message. There will always be something to fix. And at some point you have to draw the line. The day is complete enough. Not perfect, but complete enough. That phrase has helped me so much. It's like completion lets the body exhale. A lot of us are not sleeping well because we do not know how to end the day. We never end our day, actually. It's very interesting. We just collapse into it. Sometimes we're so exhausted that we just collapse into it and we just keep going. There's no closing ritual, no saying, okay, from this day on, that's what I'm doing. And there you are at midnight, remembering something that somebody said to you back in 2007. It's crazy, but this is how our brain works. It needs space, and we need to give it that space. We need to also see, why the anxiety gets louder around bedtime, because when the room gets quiet, all the unprocessed stuff comes up. The worry, the grief, the resentment, the anxiousness, the list, the fear, all those things. So better sleep is not only about the bedroom, it's about your relationship with your own inner life. Are you giving yourself time enough to feel things, to process things? Are you giving your mind space and the place to slow down? And then, of course, there's the light. Artificial light is changed by everything. Okay, it changes everything. It changes the mood of the room. And this is why I don't advise scrolling on your phone a couple of hours before you go to sleep at night or watching television. It interrupts with your sleep. For most of human history, sunset meant something. Darkness meant something. The body received a clear signal. The day is ending. Day is done. And now we can blast our retinas all hours of the night. That's why I'm so happy with my blue light glasses, because I wanted to try it out. I usually have about 3 to 4 hours before bedtime that I'm no longer on the screen. But one of the things that I noticed is that later in the afternoons in the office and afterwards when I have to wrap things up, I'm having to still be with the screen, finishing up some reports, finishing up, some administration stuff. And that was one of the reasons why I decided, because a friend of mine had suggested to me about the blue light glasses. And I thought, oh, is that going to really make a difference? And it really does, because it does protect your eyes. I've noticed a big difference. And I do have a sleeping ritual. Now, do I sleep well every night? Not at all, especially when I'm jet lagged or I've been traveling a lot. It really throws me for a loop. But it's about also not only the blue light, but also what are you reading? What are you ingesting at that time? You might want to check the weather or something like that. But what else are you looking at? The nervous system cannot keep up with so much input. And so this is a personal thing. It's a cultural thing too. I know part of healing your sleep is deciding that you are no longer available to the culture that profits from your depletion. And I know that may sound dramatic to some people, but it is really true. Let's get practical about this, because I don't want this episode to be just about what sleep is and what it can do and what it can't do and all these other things. Let's talk about consistency first, okay? Your body loves rhythm. There's a circadian rhythm in our internal 24-hour clock, okay? It's shaped by light, by timing, routine, food, movement, stress, sleep patterns, all of it. When you go to bed, when you wake up at the same time, this is keeping your body in. It's a trusted pattern that your body gets used to. And I know this is where some people get really annoyed because it's not always consistent. Kids wake up, work shifts change, travel happens, hormones happen. The hormones is a thing that's a whole separate thing that I could do an episode on. But, there's so many interruptions that happen. So it's not about perfection. It's about trying to be consistent and having that consistency in your life, and about giving your body some predictability. That's the important thing. Even a consistent wake up time can help you anchor your rhythm. Second thing is morning light. This is super important. Getting natural light into the eyes as early as you can, not staring in the sun, okay? I mean, let's be practical about it, but just being outside, standing near a window, letting that natural light, opening up the curtains, it tells your body and your brain the day has started. We have started. And when your brain clearly understands that, it's an easier time. It has an easier time to wake up. The third thing is temperature. Your body needs a slight drop in core temperature to fall asleep and stay asleep. So this is why a cooler room tends to support better sleep. I mean, have you ever slept in the summertime with the window open and a cool breeze coming in? It's fantastic. It's lovely. A warm bath or shower before bed can also help, because it brings the blood flow to the skin surface, and afterward your core temperature drops, so that can really help you. The next thing is about caffeine. Caffeine is something that I know people love their caffeine. They love their coffee. They have a relationship with their coffee. But caffeine has a long half-life, often around 5 to 7 hours. That means your afternoon coffee may still well be hanging around at bedtime, okay, keeping you awake. If you struggle with sleep, try moving your coffee, your caffeine cutoff to earlier, maybe around noon or 1 o'clock, and observe what happens, because it's just an experiment. Just give it a try. Your body's always going to give you the feedback that it has, because maybe that's something that's causing your sleep patterns to be off. The other thing is alcohol. I know this one is very unpopular, but drinking can make you sleepy at first, but it disrupts your quality of sleep, especially the REM cycles. So you might fall asleep quickly, but then wake up at 3 a.m. and it's just not deep enough rest that you're getting. The next thing is, your bed needs a job description, basically. Your bed needs to be associated with sleep, intimacy, restoration, not work emails, not sitting with your laptop or with your phone, sending off, work emails where really your brain associates. This is my bedroom. This is where I sleep. If you train that, you will already be so much far ahead in getting, you give yourself a better chance to have a better night's sleep. Your bed is your sanctuary. When I started doing this and realizing that not doing any kind of work or not even reading a book in bed, which sometimes I will say I occasionally do that, but not as much as I used to, it really helped, because I knew that as soon as I laid in the bed, that was for sleep. Now, my favorite part about where science and spirituality meet is that a sleep ritual is not about being fancy about it. It's about creating that transition from the waking time to the sleeping time. Okay. You stumble into bed. You've probably had this before. You stumble into bed after overstimulation and hope that the body knows what to do. But your nervous system sends, the signals that you're still on. It needs repetition. It needs a gentle signal that says you're safe enough now to power down. Choose a time, ideally 60 minutes to 90 minutes before bed, where screens go away. I like to do a lot longer because I have found that it takes me a whole lot longer to wind down. If I use screens up until, 2 hours before bed, it's still with me. So screens aren't evil, by the way. It's just that your attention is sacred. Your last hour belongs to you, not the inbox, not to your work, nothing like that. Put the phone in another room if you can, or at least put it on airplane mode. If it's your alarm clock, I get it. At first, this may feel uncomfortable, but that discomfort tells you a lot of how reliable and how you rely on, and probably addicted to a certain degree, to that stimulus. Shows you how your nervous system is leaning on stimulation to avoid stillness. Okay. Next, take a notebook Write everything down in this last hour, hour and a half. Write everything down, journal, get everything out, write your task, your to-do list, everything that is on your mind. The goal is not to solve it. It's just to get it out of your head onto paper. This helps greatly. And ask yourself, if things are coming up that you're thinking, oh, I have to do that right now, what can wait for tomorrow? And that question is very powerful. It will help you and guide you into figuring out what you can really just leave behind. Next, you want to do some breathing exercises. I mean, this is one of the easiest tools that we have. Do that 3 or 5 times. Inhale through your nose, double your exhalation, long, slow exhalation, either through your nose or through your mouth. Do that 3 to 5 times. Find gratitude. You're inviting the body to soften. Have gratitude practices in place, whether it's out loud or maybe you write it down in your journal as well. Maybe it's the first sip of coffee. Maybe it's, the fact that you have a job or that you got a text from a friend. It can be as small or as big as anything that you want, but really get into the habit of practicing gratitude. This is a big game changer. If you want to make a more spiritually oriented ritual, ask yourself some questions like, or even statements. I release what is not mine to carry tonight. I did the best that I could. I release what is not mine, the future outcome, the other person's mood, whatever it is, release whatever it is if you want to make this a little bit more spiritual and allow yourself to process some things. Now, I want to say something directly to the person who feels guilty resting. Man, I've had that for years. You are not lazy because you need sleep. You are a human being. And those of you that are ambitious, caring, high-functioning, creative, responsible people, rest can feel a little bit suspicious because when you are used to being needed and used to being on, stillness can feel like you're falling behind. But what if rest was the opposite? Okay? What if rest was part of the devotion that you had for yourself? What if sleeping well was one of the ways that you serve better in your work, in your family, in your relationships, your calling? There's a version of you that's much calmer, sharper, and more intuitive, more creative even, and more connected. And that version of you is not built on constant exhaustion. That person in you is restored with rhythm. And I want you to stop treating sleep like leftovers of your day. It is very important. Sleep is not what you get after everyone and everything else has taken a piece of you. It is a priority. It is the gift to yourself. It is the devotion for yourself. So here's a practice for this week that I'd like to leave you with. I do not want you to overhaul your whole life. I don't want you to, buy 20 different things that you need. I want you to choose just one change, just one thing. Try a digital sunset for 7 days. Pick a time, 60 minutes, 90 minutes before you want to go to sleep. And let that be your screen cutoff time. Use that hour to journal, to breathe, to pray, to laugh with a loved one, take a bath, tidy up the room, or simply sit just quietly and connect with yourself. Then notice, how do you fall asleep? How do you wake up? How's your mood? How are your cravings? How is your patience level? Notice what comes up when you're not numbing yourself with constant input. And come back to the comments and tell me, what is your biggest challenge with sleep? Is it your phone? Is it anxiety? Is it, revenge bedtime procrastination, which I think we all go through at some points in time, where you stay up later than that day for whatever reason, even though you knew that you needed to go to sleep? Or is it your stress levels? Is it your hormones? Is it the schedule that makes you feel more responsible and it makes it impossible for you to wind down? Because I want this community to be a place where we can talk about these things and build better practices together. If this episode made you rethink sleep, share it with someone who's running on caffeine, cortisol, and just good vibes, high vibes. They need this conversation. I really appreciate that. And I do want to say one thing. If you have any longstanding problems with sleep, definitely contact your healthcare practitioner and look into what some other causes could be. There could be something, that is chemically imbalanced, or even in your vitamin, mineral, blood work. Just definitely contact your healthcare practitioner as well. Next week, we're going to be talking a little bit more about the body. One of the reasons I want to talk to you about this for just a second, we're talking about intentionality. I can't say that word today for some reason. Anyway, we're talking about having intention in the things that we do. The things that we do, the basic things that we're doing, sleeping, eating, morning rituals, movement, whatever it may be. And the reason why is that whenever we bring more attention and intention to what we do, it makes a big difference on how we experience our life. And it makes us a better version of ourselves in order to feel better, to be able to live better, to do the best that we can in every way possible. So I'm so happy that you joined me here. Be sure to subscribe and share this video. Protect your rest this week. The world does not need a more exhausted version of you. It needs the most alive version of you. Thank you so much. Until next time.